Welcome back to the second episode of The Matrix Decoded. I am Shreya Rajput, and today I'm thrilled to announce our new speaker, Khyati Bahel. Khyati has had 5 years of experience in companies such as Disney Star, Dr. Oetker, Penguin, and currently she's working as a digital marketing strategist at Google. Welcome, Khyati. It's a pleasure to have you on board
Thank
today.
you so much, Shreya. The pleasure is all mine.
Great. Let's start from the very beginning, right? You started your journey in DU, KMC, and
Right.
then you moved on to IIM Kozhikode. How was the journey from, transitioning from an English honor student to an IIM Kozhikode, alumna now? How was that entire journey for you?
Right. So I think it comes with its own set of challenges because when you study literature, it's a much more fluid subject.
Right.
Everything is grey. We talk about, we debate the right and wrongs of it. And when you transition into business, it's very, very binary. There's everything is black and white. There's only right and wrong. There's no grey, so to speak.
Right.
So I think that shift in thought process was definitely challenging for me.
Of course.
But IIM Kozhikode was, wonderful. It was, I'm sure you've heard, as everybody has, that the campus is beautiful.
Yes.
That's the first thing anybody mentions to me whenever I mention I'm from IIM Kozhikode. But apart from that as well, I think it's wonderful to study alongside people, the kind of cohort that you do tend to have at an IIM.
Right.
Because it really challenges you. People come with, a wonderful experience and you get to really learn from them, not to mention the kind of professors you have.
Of course.
But it is very grueling. I just want to say that for all college students who are looking to move into MBA, it definitely is grueling. You will have a lot of late nights. You will have 13, 14 hours a day regularly.
God.
We work on a lot of cases.
Yeah.
There's a lot of casework that you tend to do, a lot of competitions that you participate in. So I think it's very, very grueling, but again, it's a lot of fun because you're working alongside students, alongside people, and
Yes.
you're doing this while you're living in hostels. So it's also fun, but yeah, it's definitely, challenging.
It is. I mean, I think you talked about, you're an English honor student, and I myself have minor in my English, and I know how the contrast is, in the sense when you're studying in English, it's all liberal. You're getting into the depths of it, of whys and everything, and when you're here in commerce, it's black and white. It's either right or it's wrong. So of course that's very different, and transitioning from English honor student, that must have been quite of a task, but of course you've mastered it now. So getting on to that, as an English honor student, how has it helped you starting your journey in digital marketing domain?
Right. So I think that studying literature really helped me. Okay, I think that people have this misconception that you study literature and now you're in marketing or
Right.
business, right? But I think it really helped me because literature talks a lot about human psychology, right?
Of course.
That's what books teach you. Why somebody's doing what they're doing, the motivation behind it, and honestly, that is what marketing is all about as well. Understanding consumer behavior,
Of
right?
course.
The psychology behind why
Yeah.
they're taking certain actions. So I think coming from literature, it actually gave me a very unique perspective that I was able to leverage. And then, of course, coupling that with my business studies really helped because I was
course.
able to sort of then bring the lens of business onto that human insight
Right.
and couple and makes that into effective marketing campaigns.
Right.
So yeah, I think it worked out into a very great combination.
That sounds so amazing. So now let's move on to the next question. So Khyati, you're currently working at Google as a digital marketing strategist. What does your role entail? Because I personally am aspiring to get into the world of marketing, and especially digital marketing, which is, a trend nowadays. So what does your role actually entail? And how has your journey helped you, do so great at Google?
Right. So my role entails essentially working with businesses to help hone their online marketing strategies, as
Right.
the name suggests itself.
Right.
I think in terms of experience, what has really helped me is the fact that I come from the brand world. I've worked with brands like you mentioned, like Disney, like Dr. Oetker. So I have a
Right.
very great perspective into what are the complexities and challenges that brands tackle when not only crafting marketing campaigns, but then when it comes to optimizing them, measuring them.
Right.
So I think when I'm on the other side of the table here working with Google, that really helps me, it really helps me leverage those insights into going back and suggesting strategies to these brands, which they can then go back and use.
Right.
So yeah, I think my experience as a brand on the brand side has been very valuable to me. And
of course. So you've been on both sides of the table.
Right.
You've been, in the industry, and
Absolutely.
you've also now in the other side of the table working at Google.
Yeah.
So that gives you a lot of insights to, you get into the brain of the consumer, and then you try to, that sounds so great. I mean, it's just so amazing to hear about all of this. That gives us a unique, people generally just get into one domain and they focus on one thing. But if you go on both the sides and understand the agency side of it and the other side of it, I think that helps a lot.
Definitely.
So that's a great insight for us. Moving on to the next question. So something which is, very prevalent nowadays is, the change of how marketers perceive the metrics. So what are the key metrics that actually marketers overlook nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think one key trend that I've noticed is that a lot of brands or marketers tend to make this mistake that they focus only on the short-term measurement impact, which is, let's say, a return on ad spend, or the immediate ROI that you're getting from paid marketing channels,
right?
Or even if it is organic channels. But I think the more strategic thing to do is to focus on customer lifetime value, which is the long-term aspect of a marketing effort. So looking at when you are investing into a marketing channel, whether that's paid or organic, what is the long-term impact that you'll be able to generate from it, rather than looking at from a very short-term lens of what is the immediate return that you're getting.
Right.
Because what might happen in the short term is that, let's say that an ad campaign is only able to give you a return of or an ROI of 2x or 3x,
right.
But in the long term it's able to generate customers which are coming back to your brand over and over, and
customer
maybe
loyalty.
And maybe able to generate 20x revenue for you. So I think having that lens as a marketer is something that most brands tend to miss, and is very, very critical.
Right.
To do
when
that.
you say short term, so how long is that period in a sense?
So brands tend to look at campaigns as and when they're running. So let's say if there's a 6-month campaign running, they'll only evaluate that 6-month period.
Right.
What has been the return within those 6 months?
Makes sense.
What kind of revenue they've generated for us. But like I said, it's a very short-term impact because, while within that 6 months, you've only generated 2x returns, but you might have, managed to acquire customers which keep coming back to you.
Of course.
Or if you haven't even acquired those customers within that period, you might do it in the next 6 months. They might have become aware of your brand within this 6 months. Like when you see an ad, maybe you go explore that brand, you go look at their website, and you don't want to buy from them right now. But 6 months down the line, let's say when you are looking to buy something, you remember that, I looked at their brand, and then you'd go back and purchase something from them, right?
Of course.
So I think marketing campaigns tend to have a halo effect, which is a much more longer term effect, which a lot of brands overlook.
That I'm learning so much right now, but Khyati, I think something that we miss all along, and that's something that I also learned from the liberal side of studies, is that people generally tend to look on to the short-term value of anything. How they're immediately impacted by it, and they tend to take decisions which are very small-looked. But eventually, we all have to realize in life or in general when you're working that everything has an impact on any person or anything in a very long-term sense. So even if you mentally forget something, your body will always store that memory for you. So I think that's something we can also entail in our journey in any domain, in any commerce field, or in any field for that matter. So Khyati, talking about trends, currently we're in the era of reels, YouTube shorts. So is this a lasting trend, or do you see a shift coming very soon?
Right. So I'm actually interestingly doing a post on this in the coming days.
Right.
But it is definitely a lasting trend. It's something that has
Makes
endured and is enduring.
Makes sense.
And in the post that I was planning on doing, I was also going to talk about the impact of native social media or native short form content platforms like Moj, like ShareChat,
Right.
and how they've penetrated extensively into tier 2, tier 3 cities. So just to give you a stat, currently they have about 250 million users, which spend an average of 30 minutes a day on these platforms, right? And their engagement metrics are extremely insane. They're seeing campaigns which have about like 200% engagement, which is a huge metric. So I do think that it's definitely an enduring trend because our attention spans are reducing, right? But at the same time, there is also this trend that is emerging where people are valuing more long form content, but content where they can where they drive value, so where they're either learning something. Right, so I think the key is going to be in the coming sort of years. I don't think it'll necessarily only be about short form or long form, but it'll be about content that is able to engage people.
Right.
And of course, keeping up with the kind of platform innovations that come in. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that our attention spans are reducing. There's a lot of research to back that as well. Which is where I think sort of scrolling incessantly comes in, and that's where these platforms are benefiting as well.
So basically, concluding it, you're saying that it is a lasting trend.
Definitely, it is, no doubt about it. But I just want to add here that we've seen again brands completely move away from long form content because they think that this is the only thing, right? But at the same time, that's not true, because even if you look at YouTube, for example, YouTube as a platform has a lot of long form content, right? Apart from shorts as well. And that content does really, really well. They're longer podcasts, they're longer sort of interviews, etc. And the reason they're doing that well is because it's content which might be longer, but it's engaging people. So I think engagement is a sort of key sort of takeaway here, that the content might be shorter or longer, but it's able to hold people's attention.
Of course.
That's the key to it.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now we've talked about Reels, we've talked about YouTube, we've talked about the latest trends, upcoming trends. So Khyati, now moving on to the next question, which is that how do you think is measurement evolving? Data is so available right now, and that is also something which is very, talked upon. People are saying that, it's being misused, and there's this other set of people which say that it is required for a business. So how do you see measurement evolving during this?
Right. So I think again, measurement is something that a lot of brands and marketers are unfortunately not focused enough on. Marketing used to be a very creative field, right? And I think unfortunately that mindset still exists within a lot of professionals as well. They haven't really adopted the true benefits of measurement, unfortunately. If you see a lot of brands today, they have a lot of data silos. They don't really leverage the kind of data that they do have access to. But the fact of the matter is that measurement is really involved. Just to give you a sense, I would say that there are 3 key sort of pillars in measurement that exist today. First is attribution, which talks about which attributes the impact of a touch point on a paid media channel. So let's say that when you're surfing the internet, you would perhaps look at first an ad on Meta, on Instagram, and then once you might go to that page's profile, you might scroll through it. And then later on, you might watch a video about it on YouTube. And then finally, you'd go and search for that brand on Google, and that's where you end up on the website, and that's where you make the purchase. But who do we attribute this sale to? Which platform, What would you pick? Is it only the last one? Not necessarily, That's last click attribution. So attribution talks about, and there are different methodologies within attribution, but it talks about which touch point do you attribute a conversion to. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is incrementality testing. So incrementality testing helps you establish the impact of any kind of action within within a campaign.
Right.
So again, let's say that we decide that we want to attribute additional budget to a channel.
Right.
Let's say YouTube Shorts, right? So what incrementality testing will help you do is it will help you establish what is the impact, that additional impact or incremental conversion or whatever your ROI, whatever your goal is, that you're able to drive from that channel.
Right.
So that's why it's called incrementality testing. It's able to establish that what are you additionally able to get by introducing this action, right? And the third is media mix modeling.
Right.
So again, within marketing, all of us as marketers, we are using multiple channels, right? You have print, you have out of home, which are your billboards, you have digital marketing, you have TV. So how do you attribute what channel is driving what impact to your ultimate sales?
Right.
So media mix modeling help you understand that, and what that does is it helps you effectively assign budgets to those channels, right? When you understand that let's say digital is driving the maximum impact, then you're accordingly able to assign the maximum budget to it.
Of course.
So these are the three key pillars, I would say, and they're very, very instrumental in getting the maximum ROI out of your marketing campaigns. And unfortunately, the fact is that a lot of marketers also today are not really utilizing these.
Makes sense. So something that you mentioned is that people are not utilizing, the measurement righteously. And that's something that I read very recently about it. That, there was a study that was conducted very recently which said that, 70% of companies had adopted, using AI into measurement.
Right.
But only 30% of them were able to actually see the ROI from it.
Absolutely.
Because they're not asking the right questions when measurement comes. And I think that is something which is very important for all the businesses to look into, is what is the question that you're actually asking? What are the prompts that you're putting into? What are the key metrics that you're using to make that entire measurement? And I think, that's very important. That's something that I've learned very much from you today. And
so I think you made a very good point here, and I want to add to that. When we talk about asking the right questions, right? I think it also aligns with understanding your goals very well. Right? So it's only when a business is able to establish what their business objective is, which drills down into what their marketing objective is, which drills down into what is their channel objective.
Of course.
Only then are they able to ask the right questions. If that clarity itself is missing, right?
Clarity. Yes.
Then it's not really able to translate into the right questions and the right metrics.
Yes.
Because let's say, and we've seen this with a lot of brands, that they might be, that the objective that they have in mind is that we want to get maximum, let's say, new customers, right? We want to we want to increase our new customer acquisition by 70%.
Right.
But what they're optimizing for is, let's say, reaching the audiences that have engaged with them over and over again. So there's a complete disconnect, right? So I think understanding your goals is the first key thing, and then translating that into the right kind of metrics you need to track for those.
Absolutely.
Because if you're optimizing for new customer acquisition, what you need to track is the kind of new customers you're acquiring and what is the customer acquisition cost, rather than, let's say, looking at what is the return on an ad spend or on your conversions,
which is that you mentioned the short term.
Correct. Absolutely. I think that's also something which is very, very, and comes from the points that you made.
I'm loving this discussion here, but of course, I'm coming to the last question now. In your journey, there must have been a lot of challenges that you must have faced. How did you tackle with them? And the second part of the question is, what are the skills that you would, ask the students or, general people to learn to get into the field of digital marketing or marketing in general?
Correct. So I think when we talk about challenges, there are two things. One, I feel like as a woman, we face multiple challenges in our personal lives and in the corporate world as well. So, even in personal lives, I've been in various aspects of my life, been asked to prioritize my personal life over my career.
Of course.
And that's something that I think as women, we all tend to deal with.
Of course.
And then, of course, I think dealing with biases at work as well. Though I want to say that, Google is an amazing place, and
of course,
that luckily is not the culture there at all.
Of course.
But yeah, so I think having said that, those would be that's one major challenge that I face in my work.
Right.
And in terms of dealing with it, I think having a very strong women support base has really helped.
Right.
Having women mentors that are able to sort of guide you from their experiences and that
Yeah.
you're able to sort of learn and take away from.
Of course.
That has been really instrumental in my journey.
Right.
And I think the second challenge I would say is, and that also sort of leads to the question that you were asking me, the follow-up, is that within marketing as a field, especially digital marketing, I think
Right.
there are continuous improvements that are coming in, right? So I think the challenge that anybody faces, and I face too, is how do you continuously stay updated?
Right.
Because every single day there's so much that's happening. There are
Yeah.
so many new improvements that are coming
Of
in
course.
within platforms, new technologies that are
Yeah.
coming in. So I think staying sort of abreast with that is quite challenging.
Of course.
But again, here I feel like having a community helps. People who are experts in their fields, and that when you
Right.
continuously interact with them, you're able to
Right.
really take away from them. And of course, there's no substitute to reading on your own.
Of course.
And yeah, that brings me to the last segue, what you asked, which is what can students learn.
Yeah.
So I think first of all, if you're talking specifically about digital marketing, I think having a great product understanding of platforms like Google, like Meta, which are behemoths in the digital marketing aspect, that I think is very, very crucial, because if you're able to really understand these platforms, you can understand a lot of digital marketing, because this is where
Right.
most of it is happening, right?
Right.
So if you're able to take courses on Google Ads,
Of course.
if you're able to take courses on Meta as well, similarly,
Right.
and also at the same time, I think put those into practice by maybe creating some of these campaigns. And you can do draft campaigns. You don't really need to utilize money. You can even create draft campaigns,
Of course.
or take up live projects where you're able to utilize some of these learnings.
Yeah.
I think that would be really instrumental
Right.
into sort of learning more about digital marketing.
Right. Thank you so much, Kathy. This is so, inspiring, firstly.
Not at all.
And of course, I've learned so much today from you. This entire conversation has actually opened my eyes, because personally, there were a lot of things, there were bits and pieces around. And this conversation has actually made me, convert it into an actual matter, which now I'm going to utilize in my daily life. But yeah, that brings us to the end of podcast. That's a wrap for today's episode of The Matrix Decoded. Thank you so much, Kathy, for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And, we are looking forward to inculcate every thought that you've put in, every insight that you've given us today on this podcast. And I really hope that it will help a lot of students out there who are, trying to get into the field of marketing or digital marketing as a subdomain. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like this podcast, do like, share, and comment, and subscribe. And keep following us. Until next time.